So I've got one last question for you to think about today, and that is probably the most important of all, which is, how can you survive the divergence? A really terrific cartoon I came across when I was in Brazil recently was this one called Cosmonauts. And it's terrific because it's about a world where an evil dictator from the future comes back to cause havoc. Because in the future, as the cartoon goes, the internet has brought worldwide peace, worldwide democracy, and worldwide boredom. So Dr. Ping comes back to 2010 to sow strife, discord, viruses, and horrible websites. It's, I think, an interesting analogy for really the kind of the world that we're moving into. Because it's very easy, I think, to mistake the future for what it really is. And even the world's smartest people can sometimes get it wrong. This is one of my favorite quotes from Bill Gates, who in 2003 couldn't believe that Google would ever really amount to anything. And you know, the world's full of quotes like this, but I think the reason why Bill had trouble with Google was that if you look back to 2003, they were just a punk internet startup company. You know, they were business without a business model. Sure, they were into search, but it wasn't yet clear that they were going to be effectively almost the operating system for many people in the world. Part of the trap, I think, to mistaking what the future represents is because we fall into what I call the myth of the timeline. And you know, many people ask me, they said, you know, is our country ahead or behind? You know, in Norway, will we catch up to the stuff you showed us into Japan? You know, is America ahead of the United Kingdom? You know, is Australia at the bottom of the pile? Is India ahead or behind? What about China? Well, what I've started to realize is that it isn't a question of who's ahead and behind. There's just a question of difference. And a really useful way to think about it is this. Imagine almost like the Galapagos Islands. The different cultures in the world create almost radically different evolutionary models of behavior. And those behavioral models, although they're particular to that country, can be exported. So many of you may waste your time at work playing Farmville or growing vegetables on Facebook. It may disturb you to know that that had its origins originally in user behavior in China. A lot of what we know about social networking came originally from Korea. The mobile phone revolution, yes, from Japan influenced the development of the ecosystem of the iPhone. But it's not a question of these things really driving the future so much as the influence from the development of radically different behaviors. And that's why I believe the divergence is going to be so significant, because these different cultures will start to reshape the web. And one of the models I like to do when I explain how to use that as a framework is what I call the three waves. My father was an English immigrant who came to Australia because he saw a poster when he was 18 of girls playing in their bikinis on the beach. And he was foolish enough to believe Australia was actually like that. Now, being a good English immigrant, the first thing he did upon arriving was try to learn how to surf. He tried to teach me. I think I got the surfer hairstyle, but I didn't get the skills. But I did pick up one lesson from him, which was, he said it's not enough just to look at the first wave. You've got to look at the next three waves that are coming. And in technology, there are three waves too. The first wave is high-tech innovation. It's when you've got a couple of geeks in a garage, you know, inventing the next big thing. You wind back the clock to 1970, and you would have found Steve Jobs and Paul Wozniak in a garage in Palo Alto inventing the first personal computer. Everyone thought they were crazy. No one could see what it would do, but it was the beginnings of a new technology. But it's wave two where things start to get interesting. And that's when a critical mass of consumers get a hold of the technology, often doing things with it that the founders never expected. This is where we're at now with Twitter. Lots of people are using it, but it's not clear yet where the business is. That doesn't arrive till wave three, and that's this one, business. That's when someone's smart enough to apply a business model to it. It's also when it's too late. So I really believe, as entrepreneurs and innovative companies, the best time to act is when disruptive technology intersects with a critical mass of consumer behavior. At that point, the old rules simply no longer apply. So, I asked you three questions today. And here are three answers. In the world of the divergence, you need to think about the three crowns of power: economics, age, and soft power of culture. You need to worry about the four emerging countries and the children that are growing up in them: Brazil, Russia, India, China. And finally, when you think about innovation, you've ultimately got to think about the three waves of technology, of behavior, and business. You put all of that together, and there's no doubt that we're moving into a radically new world. And while it can be frightening, and I know you're thinking it was bad enough worrying about the internet destroying media without worrying about this other stuff, I'm here to tell you as well, there's some incredible opportunities. Because the countries of the divergence will not only bring new consumers to your businesses, they're going to bring entirely new forms of behavior. So, think big, think new, but most importantly, think quick. Because if there's one thing I've learned absolutely, it's that it is this: the future is now. Thank you very much.
Nice. Thank you.